I don't know what your mom's maiden name is. Can't wait.
Wait, it's the first letters or the whole
The
maiden
first three
name?
letters of your name, and then the first two. What is it? Well,
So it's your
I have to say your
first
last name
name.
here.
Your first Star Wars name is Camway
Yeah.
or
It's
Camway.
very close to Kevwee
Yeah,
or Kevway. I'm going Kevway because
Camway.
I like that a little bit better.
Yeah, it sounds more like timeless.
Yeah.
He's not gonna give us. He's not gonna give us his mom's maiden name. There's
or his city of birth. This is too much information.
Yeah, there's a small like city somewhere that's gonna explode if we know that information.
Nevertheless.
We can make something up. We could just do it Williams, and then we know he was born somewhere and or around the Bronx. Weebronk. Camway Weebronk.
Weebro. Wait, no. It's the first three, isn't it? Or is it the first two? Oh no, it is the first. Yeah, Weebro.
I mean, that's what this says. And this was from the Boba Fett fan club. I'll send you
mine. I do like mine. Kevway Weekend. Both of those kind of work for me. I think I have the best name. Mike, what's yours again?
Let me see. First three letters, Mike. First two of your last, Mike Straw, and then Man Bro. Mike Straw,
we got to pronounce. Yours would be like Mixtra.
Mixtra, Man Bro.
Man Bro. That's actually horrible.
Yeah. I don't want that
one. There's no way to fix Man Bro.
No.
It can't be.
Unless I did it. If I did it the other way, it would be what? Wow, bro man, I guess. Broma. I like Broma.
Broma's not bad.
Mixtra Broma.
I just think that there's no way of making your Star Wars name sound actually cool unless through this method.
It's Kevway Wyken.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I like Kevway.
Kevway Wyken. Just so you all know, this is Poorly Made Podcast, episode 21.
Hey, 21 and
21. What we were doing is discussing our Star Wars names, which we've discovered I have the best one.
Yeah.
Congrats to me.
If you want to do your Star Wars name, you take the first three letters of your first name, first two letters of your last name, and that's your first Star Wars name. And then your last is your mom's maiden name, first three letters, and the city you were born in, first two letters.
Yes, hit us up in the comments. This is what.
Let us know what your Star Wars.
Put it in the comments.
Put in the comments
up. Like, share, replug.
Get that engagement.
That's what sets this off.
Right.
3 friends challenge the public to come up with Star Wars names. Not exactly what we had hoped for, but okay.
I can hear the BuzzFeed articles just coming in now.
BuzzFeed is still a thing?
Yeah, every time like a cult classic movie drops, they have like a hot article that has like, some lasting power.
Listen, They are definitely still a thing, and if anything, compared to us, they've always been a thing. So
very true. So wait a minute. Since we're on the Star Wars, and I didn't know this, what you watched? What's the first one? Phantom Menace? Is that what the first movie is?
Yeah.
Thoughts? Just quick wrap up of what you thought of Phantom Menace, Mike?
Me?
Yeah. Did you say you watched it?
Oh, I got confused because you said the first one.
Well, it's the first.
It's episode 1.
Episode 1.
Yeah. No, I get that. I thought it was pretty good. It was kind of lame. Parts of it were kind of lame. And I remember that I was thinking in my head like, oh, that's a plot hole, but I can't remember now what it was. It was like they got from one place to another, and I was like, wait a minute, like how is this possible? Yeah, I'm just still hung up on the whole like, this is how I foretold it. Like
I knew you were going to.
Really?
I knew that you were going to bring that up. I don't know, endlessly.
You foretold your own failure. Okay, sure.
You gotta let that go.
Like,
He's not. He's like, I hate when people claim to have confidence in the future. No.
like one minute they use the Force, the next minute they don't. Like he kills Qui-Gon Jinn, and then he kills the other guy, and it's like, okay, but wait, but why didn't you just use the Force before to get through the what do you call it? Like the shield that he puts up? Like,
Well, he didn't intentionally put it up. That was, but like, what was he gonna do? How was he gonna use the Force to combat that?
I don't know. I guess that's where I get stuck. But like even with my
Like
girlfriend always talking
what the
about it.
Force does,
Huh?
and like what the Force can do.
Mm, yeah, I mean, like, you can get like these Jedi ghosts or whatever they're called, but they can die. These guys can read people's minds and shit. Like,
Well,
Well,
Qui-Gon was supposed to be the first one to actually be able to be a Force ghost. And then he went back and taught everyone else how to
he
like
taught
do
he taught a
Force
few
stuff.
select people, as far
Yeah,
as
like
we know.
Yoda and and then like that information is supposed to be passed on. So like Qui-Gon, it's not like everyone can be a Force ghost. Qui-Gon got that knowledge first and then started to pass it on to a few people. But yeah, I understand your concerns where like what are the lines of like what the Force
well,
can and can't do, when can you do it?
And then, so yeah, this funny. It's just a funny thing to think about because uh, if your confusion with the Force Ghost exists now, the the final trilogy is gonna you're not gonna like it.
I just want some clear lines drawn here. Oh, he was the first one to know about Force ghosting, like, which doesn't sound right. But Force ghosts, like, we're talking like, aren't we talking like multi generations here of like people that have existed, and they're but the Jedi art, is
No, so
developed
well,
over.
supposedly he learned it from a civilization that wasn't like related to the Jedi. This technique isn't uh act like necessarily a Jedi technique, I believe.
Yeah.
But he
And
He
learned it.
learned it from like another culture of people,
Yeah.
and then he just brought that into the Jedi thing. Yeah.
don't get me started on the whole like mother son slave dynamic.
Wait, what's your issue with that?
It's just like, I can take the son, but not the mother. It's just
Like, yeah, you're a whole Jedi with all these government connections. You couldn't buy a woman out of slavery.
yeah,
You just didn't take the son.
yeah. Like,
That's
you
a good
have to,
point.
you can't. This little blue guy who's flying around, you can't fucking kill him with the Force or some shit. Like, this kid knows how to control like these crazy ass machines. Like,
Well, I don't know. Apparently being a shady business creature makes you mentally strong enough to withstand the power of the mental force. I'm sure if they wanted, he could still get like force choked or force pushed into like a ditch or something.
mm,
But they're supposed to be good. They're supposed to be good guys. So like only mental manipulation is allowed. You can't physically manipulate these people.
mm. I mean, I listen. I liked it. I was a fan. It kept me attentive the whole time. My last thing is that these like interstellar communities, they love their fanfare, man. At the end, they're just celebrating parades. Confetti, they love their fanfare.
Gotta party it up.
I love that part.
All right, now we're getting into the real stuff. Getting into the real topics. What are we starting with again? Oh, James Harden
Basketball.
trade. Yes, James Harden trade.
The important stuff. Like,
Yeah, back to
We
the
discussed these
critical
things before we
discussions.
come here.
Where do we start?
so James Harden has star shooting guard of the Houston Rockets, known playoff choker,
Ooh.
great, numerous times scoring champ for in recent years. Has forced himself to be traded, and he was therefore traded to the Brooklyn Nets for in a four team trade. he was traded to the Nets. So now the Brooklyn Nets have Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden on the same team.
New super team has been formed. So
Yeah.
Mike, just to like catch you up on why this matters, okay? So one major point is Kamal mentioned he essentially forced his way out of his old team because he was unhappy there. He claimed that they weren't good enough to win.
Not only did he claim it, he basically said it in a press conference, saying my teammates aren't good. They suck.
And it can't be fixed.
And they can't.
He didn't say they suck. He just said
might as well. He might as well.
And this is the Rockets.
Yes.
He was on the Houston Rockets.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what I was going to mention is, so he forces his way out onto this team. He's played with Kevin Durant before when they were very early on in their careers on the Oklahoma City Thunder, Kamal's basketball team of choice. And they wanted to reunite. Oh, what are you? Just like a Russell Westbrook fan then?
I was, yeah.
So you're no longer a Russ. Oh, you still are. Okay, so you're a Westbrook guy now.
I'm a Russ fan.
You're a Russ fan. Okay, I respect that. I definitely respect that. Okay, so back from Mike. So this guy, James Harden, he forces his way out of this team. And then now he's on the Brooklyn Nets. Now, the Brooklyn Nets, I know you know a little bit more about them because I sent you an article about Kyrie. So they're kind of in a state of limbo because Kyrie Irving has been away from the team for personal reasons for an elongated period of time. So they could potentially have a big three, but they kind of don't know the state of the organization. Is Kyrie going to come back? Are they all going to mesh well as far as the playing style?
He's supposed to be returning tomorrow, I believe.
That's what they said? Awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be great for them. First, is there anything that you wanted to add about the James Harden thing at first? Because I want to really get into the Kyrie stuff that I sent you guys about.
Well, we could talk about the quick thoughts about like the trade and like what we think.
Do you like it as a trade? Do you like them forming that big three?
I mean, I'm not a fan of. I feel like I'm not a fan of Harden or Kyrie, so I don't want either of them to prosper.
I mean,
but nah, fuck those guys. They're jerks, and
we're talking about Kyrie Flat Earth Irving, right?
Yeah, Kyrie Flat Earth Irving and James.
No space, no relief space in his beard. Harden.
Yeah.
I don't know who's telling him to do that, but he needs to get that shit.
It's his brand now.
Yeah, I guess so.
And he's the beard.
So wait, so what is each going to bring to the team though? So
that's the thing. That's the biggest. That's kind of the big intrigue besides them just being stars, is that largely James Harden and Kyrie have very similar roles and playing styles, as well as
shoot, like he had like a shooting award.
Yeah, they're both very ball dominant,
prolific scorers.
They handle the ball a lot. They're not really spot up shooters.
Because that could be a problem sometimes.
Yeah, that's the big thing. They're both their playing style and their temperament, because they're both unreliable, selfish basketball players. Well, selfish people, and they're and they have similar styles. So how will they mesh? How will they handle that? They've both been used to being the ball dominant guy, and now they'll have to share it because they have to split it between three different players now, because KD, who is, I think, still recognized as the best of the three, still has to he still has to get his looks, because you want to utilize your best player in order to win games.
Right.
But yeah, so that's the big controversy, the big question of how will they mesh. Knowing my luck, because I don't get nice things, it'll probably work out swimmingly, and they'll probably sweep through the rest of the season. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so that's how I kind of feel. I like it because I like anything that creates like new interesting storylines. And Kamal probably would say it's not interesting, but like it's a new thing to kind of watch and look and see how they're gonna mesh well. Like we've already seen a couple games with Harden and Durant, and like they both look great. They both look happy. Um,
Yeah,
just
that's
playing
which
together.
yeah, which continues to show that I don't know. This is something I've been thinking about, and it kind of relates to another topic we were talking about. Um, like my sympathy for professional athletes.
Hmm.
So like the argument was that like the idea was that James Harden, it was okay that James
He was
Harden,
unhappy, right?
yeah, that he acted so unprofessionally because you're a basketball player, you're a star, so you're allowed to do that. So it's okay. Whereas in any other profession,
Were people
uh,
making that argument though? I don't feel like
what?
I've seen like
Making what argument?
it's okay that James acted out because he was unhappy. I don't feel like
Well,
I've
no,
seen that.
they were definitely saying like, well, he's unhappy. Well, they were saying that more of like it's a matter of fact,
Mhm.
like oh, he probably shouldn't be doing that way, but like, what are you gonna do about it?
What did he do specifically?
Um
He didn't go to
he
training camp,
didn't go he was late to training camp. He was caught out um partying
partying
without a
at strip
mask.
clubs.
He was caught partying like out without a mask. He appeared to be out of shape. He
Hmm.
kind of half-assed playing during the last stretch of games during his
Right.
when he was with the
This is
Rockets.
all apart from saying his teammates suck.
This was
Yeah,
all
and
before he said that.
yeah,
Okay.
and then like on the last day before I think he was actually traded. He basically said his team sucks and they can't win.
Who else is on
Um,
the? Who else is? Would he be talking about?
like on
To
his
his
team.
defense, he was right when he said that. Like they're not good enough to win.
Well, I
you
don't.
got
Well, we
you
don't
got
know
John
how.
Wall and DeMarcus Cousins, and
That's another thing. It's unfortunate that DeMarcus Cousins and uh, John Wall are like coming off of like these debilitating injuries, so
they
they're
definitely
definitely
passed their prime.
they're shells of themselves as players.
Hmm.
So that's unfortunate. But yeah, he was just unprofessional, and I just find it interesting that like you allowed because they're such big stars, um, we like we move past the insane unprofessionalism and just say, well, we got to do well. They should get what they want regardless because look how talented they are.
So uh, I agree with you 100%. Like I don't think we should be able to like let them off the hook for that. A question I had for Mike though, because I want to kind of loop him in a different way. So a big conversation is like the fairness, quote unquote, fairness of creating these big threes and like teams creating super teams. You're a baseball fan, specifically a Yankee fan, right? Those teams like the Yankees that just sign big contracts and are able to attract all these big players. Do you think it's fair? I mean, they don't win every year, but like the Yankees always seem to have like these really big players. Do you think it's fair for teams to just get all the talent and just like be leagues ahead of all the other teams?
Um,
Remember, you're a Yankee fan. You got to watch what you say.
I know, I know.
Aaron Judge will come and kill you.
Aaron Judge. Well, I mean, I think partly it's fair, yeah, because I mean, it's a different sport, so the reasons why the Yankees have the talent, but also the money to like purchase all that talent is pretty specific. They have it's a dynasty in so many ways, like um, and I, I I mean also though baseball the talent is I think distributed different than basketball, where
Mhm.
those same guys are going to be out there. Um, James Harden and Kyrie, they're going to be out there the majority of the time, unless they're like injured or something. Whereas
Mhm.
the Yankees, they're going to have their talent is not only just derived from the hitting. It's also like, well, what all-star pitchers that they get. You know, Aaron Judge, is a great hitter, but he's also a great a great fielder. So, but I think the talent is spread differently in baseball, whereas you'll find bigger stars like on more teams than basketball. But I think ultimately though I think it's fair for what the Yankees are as a team. Um, but I mean for basketball, I still don't think that like I'm in the camp of that, you're not gonna win with just three guys just because you have this all-star like it would have to be some like perfect unison like like comparison between the guys. Like one's, like the ultimate like setup guy, defender, doesn't need to be in the spotlight. One's the point guy to always just have the perfect shot. And then once, the other guy's like the brings everything together kind of. I don't think that doesn't sound like what you guys are describing from those three guys, unless I'm wrong.
I just so given everything Mike said, one, I think one thing for baseball is that it's almost the opposite. Like it's almost like if you have that collection of talent, you almost like don't win. Like it's almost rare that like a team will collect all the biggest free agents during a season and
Mhm.
then win. Because like it's so much more of a different sport because it's so dependent on like so many different variables. It's not the same five guys. You have a different pitcher every day. Um,
But I guess
unlike
my
back,
question, does it create an advantage though? Like, or an unfair advantage? Or are you guys saying it's not unfair? It's just the nature
you
of the game.
mean the accumulation in baseball?
Yeah.
Nah, because the Yankees have had one of the highest payrolls in the longest time, and they haven't won in over a decade. I guess you would say the Dodgers they they would be I would the Dodgers just won and they had a high payroll, but then like the
Mhm.
teams, there are smaller teams like Tampa and stuff like that have
Right.
super small payrolls, have like pitchers that they pull out of nowhere, that they pull up from the minors that are amazingly great. So
Mhm.
it's
Right on
not the
the
it's
great.
not it's not the same 1-to-1. Whereas in basketball, even regardless of fit, almost often if you have the best talent, unless they like can't exist at all. It's the depth of the talent will drive you forward and make you successful in
Mhm.
most cases. Because like even the Warriors had redundancies with when they added KD. I would argue that like him and Clay had similar
Right.
roles on the team, but like they
Mhm.
were just so talented, and then they were able to supplement the areas they needed fit with veterans and with Draymond, things like that. So they
And
were
Clay
able to,
being willing to take a step back, also.
and they were also a bit unselfish and were willing to share in their glory
Mhm.
to maximize winning. So I guess that's my last bastion of hope with them is that like Kyrie won't let me down and he'll be the jerk I know him to be and he'll fuck it up. So
Right.
fingers crossed.
I have to
But
say the Brooklyn Nets are probably like my most disliked team now, which is crazy because like whenever that D'Angelo Russell run happened, so was it maybe 3 years ago, 2 years ago?
you
Like
really
that
like
was
them.
like a really great young, like energetic team that I was like, oh, this is about to be
Yeah.
like the Knicks, I follow the Knicks pretty closely, and I was like, this is like what was supposed to be happening in the Knicks so many times, like where we get this
Yeah.
young core that's like on the cusp of something great, get like a nice little 8 seed playoff spot, and like, oh, could they do it? And it's like, no, never. But like the Nets were like really on that cusp, and then they broke it up with the D'Lo trade and like bringing in Kyrie. It's like kind of
Kyrie.
all went to shit. And I really don't like James Harden. And I really don't like Kyrie. I'm
Yeah.
definitely with you on that. Like I just think they're both
I
like
feel like
off
they're
the court. They're just not my type of person.
yeah.
Um,
Does that matter? Does that matter entirely
Yeah.
then? Or
I mean,
No, I mean they're
as
great
a
basketball
fan,
players.
as
I'm
a
just saying, yeah,
fan,
I'm not interested. Like I don't, I like I said earlier that it's harsh. Like Kamal saying he doesn't want to see them be successful. I don't know if I
I don't
don't
want
want
them.
to be. It's not that I
Nah, I
don't
don't
want them
want
to
them
be
to be.
successful.
Wait, nah. They're. Listen, we're during a pandemic, and Kyrie for personal reasons was able to just miss out on like $800,000
Okay, in his
just
defense,
because.
he missed one of those games. I can speak for one
No,
of the
no,
games
I'm
to
not
be
trying
in
to.
a community meeting.
Yeah, no.
Getting involved
I'm
in
not.
community politics. Like,
No, I'm not saying. I'm not saying like he was wrong for doing it. I'm saying when you have that, when you're making that much money that you
right,
can lose out on over hundreds of thousands of dollars,
right.
um, nonchalantly lose out on it, you basically toss it away. I don't have any sympathy for you not winning
Well, look,
championships.
here's what makes Kyrie's like to me so interesting, right? Like we can say all these things like, you're letting all this money go to waste and you're, just like a mercurial type of person, right? But I was reading this thing earlier today where it was like during the WNBA bubble, like he paid over $1 million in WNBA people's salaries. He donated all this money to like different charities. Like I was saying, he missed that one game because he was in like a community meeting for some political thing that was happening in Manhattan, and he wants to be involved in like community politics and make sure that the right people are getting voted in. Like, it's not like Kyrie. Okay, Kyrie is actually like probably the opposite end of the spectrum of James Harden as far as like what they're doing with their free time, because James Harden is at the strip club. He's giving little baby, $100,000 in a Prada bag because he's proud of him. And on the other end of the spectrum, you've got Kyrie Irving being involved in community politics and donating money to causes and paying WNBA players salaries, and he's like actually doing good with his time. But like the media is just kind of focusing more so on he and again it's not right. Like he shouldn't have gone to his family member's birthday party and not worn a mask and all that stuff. But like Kyrie's actually doing some good, and I kind of like, yeah, if you're away from the team for personal reasons because you're doing things in your community that you think are more important than basketball, I'm not going to be like, well, you know, totally bash what he's doing, just maybe the way he's going about it.
Is that his place though? I know. Is that a bad question to ask? Like, is that his is that his place to be doing that?
To be
In
doing
what
what?
sense?
To missing what did he miss a game to go
He missed
to
like a week's worth of games.
a week's worth of games?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
people are saying like if I no call no showed for 2 of my shifts, I would be fired. But
yeah.
like Kyrie's missing like 5 games, and
And
I'm
he
not.
and it sounds like a great thing like that he went to. I would want to know the details. Was it like a town hall meeting? Like was that
essentially it was kind of
yeah,
Something
like
like
that.
that.
like is that really is that when you weigh those two together, like your job, fans, expectations, all that stuff, and then you weigh it against a town hall meeting. It's not like he went
Okay,
to protest, to protest his brother's killing on death row. Like, you know what I mean?
right.
Like,
Well, he was. I have no problem with his political like advocacy. I'm like I honestly think his heart is in the right place. I just think he's like you can still be a very charitable and like philanthropic and socially aware person and be a jerk. And
Mhm.
that's what I don't like is that he's a
Right,
jerk.
yeah.
yeah,
Like that's the thing. He thinks he's smarter than like everyone else around him, and he talks like
Yeah,
it. Like
yeah.
like he talks like he's more I
Aware,
don't know.
woke.
He kind of in a bit reminds me like we were talking in the last podcast like about the Trump supporters who like
Mhm.
have like the special research that like they've only
Yeah,
they have that they have access to that no one else
right.
does, and like oh if only you had done the research you would know you
Mhm.
would see the truth that like that I know.
Right.
It kind of
you would
reminds me
see
of,
the deep state.
yeah. So like that's the only thing. Like I don't mind him missing the games. That I don't care. But like my condemnation of him as like his character in terms of his professionalism as a basketball player mostly stems to him in Cleveland and Boston. Like Boston, where he swore that he was going to re-sign with the team, and then he was like, he's like, I plan to stay, and then he got into a fit and changed his mind, and he was like, oh, I guess we'll see.
Right.
A guy he talks way too much for someone who's hasn't really achieved much, hasn't achieved anything since he left LeBron, being the second banana.
The second banana.
I'm not familiar with that ranking. You want to run that one by me?
Isn't that the expression? Second banana, third banana? No, second banana.
I don't know.
I think I've heard that before. I just think it's a funny.
I've heard of top tomato.
I've never heard of top tomato.
She's my side carrot.
It's a small grocery store chain in the Bronx. Top tomato. My sister worked there.
According to the Oxford Dictionary, second banana means the second most important person in the organization or activity. So yeah, I'm not crazy.
Listen,
that's where banana.
I never said you were crazy. I just wanted you to run it by me because I was unfamiliar. Okay.
I was pretty sure it's pop, but like yeah. So he has poor leadership and like and poor communicative. I'm pronouncing it wrong. Communicative
skills. Is that what
yes,
you're trying to say?
Yeah. That's funny that I'm messing up that word. But
you also have poor communicative skills.
Yes. Wait, maybe I'll say linguistics. And she got him there. Got him there. But like, so keep
messing up that word, you become the bottom asparagus.
All right, now
we're just making it up. Squished and soft at the bottom of the pile. No one wants that asparagus.
We're just gonna we're making stuff up now. But yeah, so like he just has poor leadership. I don't like his personality as a professional. That's completely separate from his social activism and things of that nature. Because remember, I was somewhat on his side about the
not restarting the league.
Or about not restarting the league and like waiting until like there was more like more work had been done by the NBA or just like before they restarted the league and like we kind of moved on to business as usual, things like that. So like I have no problem with that.
All right, so this kind of goes well.
Attitude is really sour grapes.
Something like that.
Sorry, I had to do it.
That was the last one. No more. Okay. So it kind of leads into the next thing that I wanted to talk about. So there's a reporter, Jackie McMullen, pretty well-known reporter. I grew up watching her on Around the Horn, ESPN, all that kind of stuff, right? So Kyrie was playing in Boston a couple years ago, and they had a conversation revolving around Kyrie's thoughts that the NBA draft shouldn't be a thing. Players should be able to choose where they go. And I'm just going to read a little bit. So one of them I had, I don't know, 2 years ago, we got into an argument about, something. And he's like, well, there shouldn't be an NBA draft. Players should be able to go wherever they want. We're not, someone's property. So Kyrie says we should be able to choose where we go, what team we play for. We're not someone's property. And Jackie McMullen's response is, yeah, you are, dude. So do you think, and this is my question, do you think that NBA players or players of any league are the property of the team owner or the organization or however you want to put that? That's my question.
No, it's a mislabeling of terms. Like that's poor Agmal.
Well, this goes to two things. Do I think that they are the property? No, they're obviously they're employees. They're they're extremely influential, powerful, well-paid employees who often have just as much power, if not more power, than the heads of the organization. So they're employees in a unique situation. Do I think that often, especially in sports, when it comes to professional athletes, particularly Black athletes, which often has a dynamic of white ownership and Black labor, do I think there's a there like we has been spoken of in the past, there's a uh, slave owner mentality, slave master
Yeah.
mentality when it comes to professional athletes? Absolutely, I absolutely believe that. Um, I think one thing that I wouldn't be surprised that one thing uh, ownership hates in being in the NBA is that the stardom of their athletes gives them so much power that they don't have the control like the other leagues have, or well,
Right.
I guess particularly the NFL has, which
Mm-hmm.
is definitely a um, slave master mentality and
Right.
dynamic between the players and
Can I
ownership.
just read? All right, so I'm in this group chat where we talk about sports, and that article came up. I just want to read what I said, and like it wasn't, not that it wasn't well received, but I just feel like I was kind of on an island a little bit. And I agree with that, like that second part that you said. So I said, I think the writer is missing a part of her take also. It's called a team owner for a reason. We don't like the word property, but is it really that different from employees or assets, especially when we know the nature of some of the older and former owners? Thinking of people like the old owner, Donald Sterling of the Clippers,
The
right?
Clippers, yeah.
Also, slave owners had their property walk away all the time. They were saying, well, like, if he's in the article, they say, like, if he was property, he wouldn't be able to walk away. So I say slave owners had their property walk away all the time. That's what runaway slaves are. Players are fined or punished when they are away from the team without permission. We can't act like most sports institutions that are made wealthy by the labor of mostly black and brown bodies aren't modeled after slavery. Sports drafts are glamorized slave auctions. Jackie's words may be harsh, but I don't think she's far off. Am I crazy for saying that?
Um, not you're not off. I think it's also, but I don't think she. This is me projecting like a relationship I have with this older
With
white
Jackie,
woman
right?
who I've
Yeah.
who I've just watched. She
Yeah, we
seems
grew
to,
up watching Jackie. She
yeah,
knows.
she seems to be. She generally has seemed to be more in touch with. So I think in this case, I think her what she said was like reflexive and out
Hmm.
of context. Um, so this is me giving her the hugest benefit of doubt because a lot of people crushed her and was like, "Ooh,
Right.
that's a pretty racist thing to say." But like, I get her what she was saying about what she was. I think, like I said, giving her the benefit of the doubt, thinking that she was saying that no, like you're not property, but yeah, you haven't. When you sign to this team, when this team gives you signs you for tens to hundreds of millions of dollars, you're an obligation to perform and do fulfill necessary requirements as a player employee of this team.
Hmm.
So like, but like we were saying, there's a weirder dynamic between professional athletes and ownership in their various sports leagues when it comes to this idea of like uh, player self ownership and self determination. Another thing that back to what I was saying about Kyrie being thinking he's the smartest person in the room and sometimes he can be dumb as hell. That opinion of his is super dumb as hell because if
Yeah.
every it's not you wouldn't have a league if every draftee got to choose where they went. You would have 8 teams. Everyone would go to you go to everyone go to LA,
Yeah. Go to the big market teams that have the
Florida,
capital to pay you.
Texas,
Yeah.
Florida, Texas. They would go all, and yeah, you wouldn't have a sustainable, as prosperous a league if every draftee got to choose where they went. So like that was a dumb take that wasn't thought out at all. Um, and so like it's like and like I'm conflicted because like while I would be like, yeah, I understand like why do we like what why should you not have the choice of where you're living and where your family is living, where you're raising a family, where
But
you're
you do have a
but
choice.
like
Your choices don't be in the NBA.
yeah, no, I'm saying, but like if you're choosing this career path, um, like is it super fair that you are forced to like live and work in Milwaukee because you were drafted off to Milwaukee or to Seattle or whatever place you don't want to be because it's not a um
I think it's somewhat fair. I mean, that's the nature of it, nature of professional sport. I'm trying to think of like comparisons because we don't have too many comparisons to draw to
there
in
are
terms
none.
of there are none really of millionaires and professional sports teams. But I mean, I think of like doctors, for example. I mean, they study how many years and they have their own preferences, but they really have to just go where they're needed, where they accept them,
No,
they want them.
no, doctors choose. No, you as a
I
doctor
mean,
you
you can
choose.
apply to a hospital like to
Yeah,
if you
but you
want to.
choose you choose the city you want to be in. You choose the field you want to practice in.
No,
It's
doctors don't choose. As far as I know, you don't choose. Doctors, they're given their choice. They have it's like a whole thing. Like it's like their decision day or whatever, and they give preferences, I believe, but they don't get to choose like what field they actually go in. It's more and I'm talking about like before they're actually like doctors. Like this is where they're like out of medical school.
you mean med school when they're doing like fellowships and things like that?
Well, when they go to like decision day, like when they come out of medical school and they get a choice between, they get to do podiatry or whatever, I don't know how you pronounce
Podiatry.
podiatry in Kansas or something. Like that's like that's the choice that they're given. I mean, I could be off, but that's as far as I know, that's how it goes with doctors. Like they don't get to choose their specialty. Doctors are just they are given a specialty in terms of being residents.
I feel like that's not true.
I don't know.
Part of that
I
feels
also
like
feel
it's
like
not
it's not true.
I mean,
yeah.
I could do research on it. I that's just what the general knowledge that I've
If
gone
you
off
can
of.
Google search in the next like 5 minutes, we can come back to this. But all right, so we'll say professional athletes and then potentially doctors are the only professions
But
where
I
you're
just to make a point, I didn't think of that like the master slave dynamic. I hadn't thought of that in terms of like you said, like brown and black bodies being deter like where the draft being a glorified slave auction. I didn't really think of any of that.
Mm.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I don't think that they should necessarily just get to go wherever they want. I think the nature of basketball is like they've done like their research and they want to make the best team. And you have you have rookies coming out of different places and their skills are whatever. But I mean, partly, yeah. I mean, it is out of their hands, but I mean, they're getting paid. It's a trade off. It's a unique situation. They're getting paid millions of dollars. Like
yeah.
it's not necessarily. It's not
That's
something you could just be like, oh, I want to go. I want to be in California, so that's where I'm going. Like, well,
yeah.
maybe if California takes you, like,
Yeah, but that was my biggest thing about like the counter to it about it being whether it's fair or not because it's like
Mm.
yeah, do I think in a job when you're applying to a job that the job has you get to I don't know when you're looking for work you get to be snatched and you have no choice in wherever you're um where you are sent to work in whatever city, town, things like that, and you can be
Mm.
moved around.
Oh, the military. Military is a place where you don't necessarily get to choose where you end up. Like they can move you to any country or any
I guess
place
that's
at a
true.
time. Yeah.
I guess that's true.
yeah.
Not that I'm trying to poke holes in the argument or anything like that.
No,
I'm just
no,
saying like
it's a
it's just
very
what I thought of.
it's a very but like the difference is the trade off is like you could be sent to Oklahoma City,
Mhm.
but you're also getting paid. You're instantly obtaining an amount of wealth and influence and
Mhm.
power that a majority of the country wouldn't make in a
Yeah,
hundred lifetimes. So
for
it's
sure.
like how much like it's a trade-off, like Mike was saying. So like how like so then that goes back to how much sympathy can I like really afford to it given the circumstances of this world that
Mhm.
like oh you're being traded, you're being drafted to Chicago. Oh, but like you signed $10 million in bonuses just for being drafted by them. So I was
Right.
like you didn't want to go to Chicago, you wanted to go to South Beach, but like
Mhm.
I'm sure you'll make it work with that $10 million. You being the one of the highest paid individuals in the state, I'm sure you'll
So
be okay.
that goes into my question, right? Okay, so you draft this person to Milwaukee and you're going to pay them $10 million a year for the next 4 years or whatever the case may be. I don't know what rookie contracts look like now if you're a top pick, but so you give them this money now. Do you own them? Are like if you're the team owner, do you own them? Are you their property? Like I'm saying, obviously it's not like slavery. Definitely not slavery. I'm not saying that we own people, but like to an extent, there is a level of control or ownership or like whatever you want to call it, within that relationship.
Yeah,
Like
you're
you're
right.
expected to do certain things because of this contract you signed that says you are assigned to my team that I own, and you can and cannot do certain things because of what I say. Like that's just the nature of it.
Yeah,
And I
you're
guess again, we don't like the word property, but like what they were actually talking about is that like that relationship.
I would say it's not even really, it's not necessarily slavery. It's capitalism. Like it's a job owning you because I mean obviously in slavery you don't, it's you're their property. You don't get
Mhm,
any benefits from that. Like,
mhm,
but it definitely has a that kind of dynamic.
yeah.
And I did, by the way, I did look up the doctor thing that I was thinking of. It's called Match Day, and this is on Wikipedia. I don't know like the exact, um, like actual qualifications behind it, but Match Day is basically it's a time of year that it's the graduate medical education community that represents the day when the National Resident Matching Program releases results to applicants seeking residency and fellowship training positions in the U.S. So essentially, they apply and they put their preference list of where they want to be, and then they get accepted in those different parts of the country. So they have a preference, but they don't necessarily get to go where they want to.
but you're
um,
still like it's still like in a it's still like it's a residency like fellowship, so it's still like that weird dynamic between like you being like intermediate between you being like a professional and like still
Mhm.
being a student
No,
to an extent.
they're definitely a professional at that point. I think doctors would say probably tell you that they're always students. Like they're not like
No,
that
but
doesn't.
like but we know what we're I would
Student
say
of the
if you're
world.
I don't know, I feel like
I
if you're
hope
still
they're all students.
like there's a difference between being a resident or being in a like a
Yeah,
fellowship and having your own private practice. Like
that's what I'm saying though. They don't.
they're
I don't
very
think they
different.
get to choose if they. I don't think because think about it. Who the hell would want to be a urological doctor? Like I mean, like they want
You
to be.
have
They all want to be
people who
heart
want to
surgeons.
be doctors. What do you mean? Some people want to be
That's what I'm.
doctors.
But that's what I'm saying. They don't always get to choose what specialty they want. Who wants to look at feet all day, or whatever. Like, yeah, I mean, maybe some people want to look at feet all day, but I
There's
mean,
definitely some people that want to look at feet.
oh yeah, you have some nice feet. Like,
But I don't know.
but
Um,
it wasn't a good exam. It wasn't a good example. It's still not even the same anywhere
yeah,
near
and
as
you're still like your rights is I don't know. It's a little different. And like so, the NBA they're exchanging your rights and your services,
for
but
millions of
you're
dollars.
from for
I don't
hundred
think I
percent.
don't think they're exchanging their rights.
No, they are. They literally trade like when you when you're drafted, they literally say your draft picks are they trade the rights to X player to certain team. Like on draft day trades, they trade the rights to you to other teams. So that's why
Yeah, they mean the rights of earning money, but they don't
no
mean
the
right.
no the
No,
right
they mean
no
rights to the person,
they mean
which
the
is
rights
ownership.
to they mean the rights to the player. So like that's why
Yeah, but then they if they can break the rules like that, if they can miss a week work of games and not get fired, then they
And that's what I'm saying though. People are
well for
saying
one
that
it's
he's
not
not ownership because of that, and I'm like, no, that doesn't mean he's
well for
not.
one it's one thing. Kyrie Irving is in the top like 5% of players in terms of salary, popularity, and etc. So it's not the same for Kyrie Irving
what does
as
that say
opposed.
about NBA fans?
I don't know what you mean by that. I'm saying
Well, he's
like
saying if we let Kyrie Irving become Kyrie Irving, like,
well
what does that say about it?
that's based on his ability, not based on anything else.
Okay.
Because if this, like I said, if this was a
He's
professional,
gonna be a good news story too.
if this was a professionalism draft, he would go undrafted, and
He would go undrafted.
he would.
Do we have anybody else out there left out there? me. Oh yeah, Mr. Kyrie.
Like I come in on time. I'll be on practice. I'll be shooting free throws till the end. But no.
Ball. I mean, he only like shoots 2 for 10, but I mean, he is so
He
professional.
shows up on time. That guy never calls out. Responds to emails promptly.
Yeah.
Shooting
Media
from the
days
field is like 19%. But
media days, he reaches out to the journalists to start the interviews for him.
Right.
But,
and check out his emails. He always uses as per my last email.
He sees everyone that's supposed to be CC. Never misses anyone.
Oh man.
Sorry.
So yeah, I'm like I said, so I'm not gonna hold the stuff with Jackie Mack against her completely because I kind of get what she was saying, but I agree I get what he was saying as well.
Maybe she should have been more sensitive to that.
Yeah, and I also think it was like she was saying reflexively, like ownership in the sense of like contractually obligated. You're signing these legal documents that are legally binding, and I don't know.
But I think it's also just an acknowledgement of what the NBA is and it as a league, how it's run and what it's modeled after. Like I think Jackie recognizes that, and the way that I recognize it and you recognize it, like it's like.
But at this point, it's not. I would say, if anything, that this Harden trade and these recent trades, like starting with the decision, that dynamic has changed. Well, funny enough, a great example of the slave master was Dan Gilbert's reaction to LeBron leaving, and he had he sounded
LeBron
like someone.
James is the Harriet Tubman of the NBA. Hot take?
Argue of the free agency. Yeah, I would argue that his move has like led the way for changing the dynamics of how NBA players, their freedom and their ability to move. So like I would say if it's been that way for a while,
I'm all approved my hot take.
It hasn't been.
I'm on top right now.
It's shifting away from that.
Feeling like Santa on Christmas.
In the last I would say it's been shifting away from that in the last decade. But going on to complaining about NBA players being filthy rich.
Yes, love this transition.
Yeah, he's the Harry Potter. He's the Harriet Tubman of the NBA. Of Harriet Tubman, who was like filthy rich.
But so Charles Barkley.
She didn't escape to South Carolina or wherever she escaped to on foot. She escaped in a Porsche.
She sent her slave talents to her. I don't know.
Wow.
Let's not go down that.
This is going down the wrong path. Back to Charles Barkley, please.
Up on BuzzFeed.
All right. So Charles Barkley recently made some comments about
some very stupid comments.
Yeah, regarding the COVID
Coronavirus.
vaccine. Yeah. So if I'm not remembering him, if I'm trying to remember what exactly he said. I'm pretty sure he said something.
He
They were
said
discussing.
millionaires should get the COVID vaccine first
Why?
Yeah, he
because of
was
the
talking.
taxes they pay,
Yeah. Um.
the amount of taxes they pay.
Yeah, he said that they should get it first because the NBA, because they're millionaires and they pay a higher um pay greater taxes, so they should get the the vaccine first. On a scale of 1 to damn, Charles is stupid. How dumb is this take?
First of all, let me answer that question. Because first of all, this shouldn't even be an article. Because at what point are we going to realize that Charles Barkley is an idiot and he gets
Oh
paid
yes,
millions of dollars to say dumb shit all the time? We need to
to
just
talk
stop.
about basketball and be
Like
wrong.
stop.
Like,
Just stop listening to Charles. Stop reporting
like-
on Charles.
but like honestly, I think
These people are millionaires. They get money. They
I think
pay their
I
taxes.
think we need to talk about
I'm just saying.
this bigger phenomenon actually about like these like I'm not trying to be racist or not racist regionalist, but these like
Come
this
on.
this
Oh.
dynamic of
Wait, are you going to talk about Kendrick Perkins also?
no
Okay.
I like KP
Okay.
this
Because
dynamic
you're a
of
Thunder
like
guy.
the representation of like Southern blacks as like getting like TV positions and I don't know. Because remember before I wanted to talk about that guy, Booger McFarlane.
What'd you say now?
Booger McFarlane. All right, don't worry about that. We'll save that for another time. But yeah, Charles Barkley needs to be stopped at being asked about politics, about
Right. I mean, not that he has to stop
black,
being asked.
nah,
We have to stop
being
having
asked.
these large reactions.
His opinion has no value. He almost never says anything insightful when it comes to outside of basketball, where he's still often wrong and his analysis is wrong. I don't know why we look to him like he's been a multimillionaire now longer than he's been for more longer than he's not been. So like I don't want to hear his opinion. Like he's out of touch.
Listen,
He's out of touch. He was the same guy who was justifying like some of these unarmed police killings to like the victims' faces.
They pay the taxes, they drive the lane, they get the vaccine first.
Pretty much.
Damn it, I'm trying to work on my impression. It's not very good.
Your Charles was better the first time. The second run, you lost it. I don't know who you're going for. It wasn't Charles that time.
Yeah, like I don't know.
I watched that video, and as soon as I heard the words come out of his mouth, I was just like, "Oh my god, this guy's gonna talk about millionaires getting the vaccine first." Really? Like,
yeah, because like what he's saying inherently in this is that because they're rich and they pay more taxes, they have more inherent worth,
which is literally irrelevant because the vaccines are made by private companies bought by the government. So like what does the taxes have to do with anything?
Exactly. It's not like the government is producing them. So it's like, oh, it's your tax dollars going into making it. So like if you put in more in taxes,
well, even then the government is buying them.
It doesn't matter. They're not making them. They're buying them from another private company. Even if that was the case, that would still be super immoral, and just.
Let me tell you what this is, right? It's January, right? I don't know if rich people get W-2s or whatever, but like Charles was just looking and thinking about his taxes. Like he was with his accountant, and he is like, "I'm paying a lot of taxes this year," and he just had to get that off
first.
He just had to get that out. That's all. Yeah. He was just upset about paying taxes, and he said something dumb on a live TV set. That's all this is. Yeah. Charles doesn't know what he's talking about. He's just upset because he pays a lot of taxes, and they asked him a question on live TV.
Yeah, like once again, dude, you get paid tens of millions of dollars to be often wrong about about basketball. Like he's entertaining, but like when
I'm not saying that he's bad at his job.
No, I'm saying
let's not pretend that he's a credible source just because.
Oh no, I'm saying
like,
no, I'm saying he's entertaining, but like when you start saying like dumb shit stuff like this, then like like, oh man, that annoyed the hell out of me.
His TNT salary is $1.5 million. So what do you think he pays on that? What's 40%?
For one thing,
I mean, it depends
that
on
was
where
a quick
he
Google
lives.
search. I don't even know. Well, the studio's in Atlanta. I think he's in.
That's 600,000 in tax.
Why do I feel like he lives in Phoenix? He lives in Phoenix.
He does. His home residence is in Scottsdale. I looked that up as well.
Yeah. On top of all the money he's made, like remember, this was still in commercials.
Wait, hold on. You said 1.5 million that he makes from that job.
His salary at TNT is $1.5 million. He's got $2.2 million in property. He's got endorsements, but his estimated net worth is $40 million.
Yeah,
he's definitely paying, and he's definitely paying probably upwards of $500,000 in taxes every year.
But actually, now I think about it. Wait, didn't those recent tax cuts basically give his tax bracket
relief? Don't they all?
A break.
Yeah, give him
rich people get all the tax breaks.
Yeah, so like, what is in terms of like percentage of salary? Like, you may pay more, and like he may pay more in amount, but in terms of percentage, like, like for him, let's say,
but this is what all Republican people say. It's like,
yeah, that's true.
We pay so much in taxes. Like, yeah, the dollar amount, but like the percentage that you're paying is nothing.
You're still making $700,000.
Yeah. That's like there's a big difference between you paying 35% of your income and me paying 35% of my income.
Well, we're honestly homeless. We're just like feeding into his thing though, because like we all have acknowledged that it's dumb.
Well, yeah, thankfully, Kenny Smith, I think, like called him out and said you're talking about life and death here, and you're talking about preferential treatment for rich people because you make more money and pay more taxes.
More than cancer, he says, more than cancer patients. I don't know if it's that guy, but more than cancer patients, more than asthma patients. They get preferential treatment over all of those people. COVID has unequally affected, communities of color. Yeah. More than everybody can give it just because they're millionaires and they pay taxes. They try their hardest not to pay taxes, first of all, but
I can't believe you could say that with a straight face. And then like I was just going through like a quick list of like all the other like industries I could think of that deserve it before a basketball analyst on TV to get the vaccine.
He's paid this.
He wasn't even saying he should get it, right? Wasn't he saying that the players should get it?
I think he said also people in this. Did he say people in this studio too?
I don't. No. I honestly.
No, he just said players.
I watched the video, but I was like,
no, he said these players.
Yeah, he was talking
about if we had a decent president, we would have had enough vaccines that we wouldn't have had to talk about who gets it first. So,
well, it was. I don't know. I don't know the rollout of this. Maybe we'll see. I guess.
Do we have anything else? Because we got to wrap up.
Did we want to talk about the?
Do we have another thing?
The president. We want to talk about the ban real quick.
Yeah. Twitter ban, yeah. I can I just start? So with that, it was a video, two gentlemen talking about being uncomfortable with Twitter banning President Trump from Twitter after January 6th and the Capitol insurrection. They're talking about being uncomfortable with it out of essentially arguments of precedent. Twitter has become the what was the word they used, Kamal, before? Bastille? I don't know what the word.
I don't know what the word is.
Like basically the center of public discourse. And they're uncomfortable with him being banned from it because what does that mean for, future leaders? Is it some kind of like coordinated hoax amongst social media platforms that they all started banning him at once, that they kind of like unequally ban people, you know. I thought that was that. I mean, maybe we could post the video or something that people could watch it, but I thought those arguments were so weak, like so weak.
But
First of all,
that's
they kept
Let him
saying
finish.
over and over, they were like, "Oh, I don't, you know, there's just something about it that I don't like." Just because the Twitter hasn't banned other people who deserve to be banned, doesn't mean that they are making a poor judgment in banning Trump. Like that's a separate thing. That's not a good argument. That's like that you're saying they were trying to say that like, oh, the leader of, I forget what it was. It came up in the news recently about a Middle Eastern country leader basically like killing people or already ordering hit jobs essentially, but how he has a Twitter still. Well, he should be banned too. Like Twitter just hasn't done a good enough job yet. That doesn't mean that banning Trump was a bad thing. But yeah, I completely disagree with that. I think Trump should have been banned a long time ago. And to say that, you know, oh, his free speech is affected, etc. He's the president of the United States. He has multiple outlets to get out information to the public. I don't give a fuck that Twitter works best for him. Like he could do something else. Like that's a terrible argument.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess this also been extended to like the idea of like Twitter and all these social media going after conservatives and liberals and things like that, and maybe they're targeting one wing of thought over another. So like this battle between like people on the right and left, and the concern about like social media being not being this free bastion, this free playground of speech for everyone to say whatever. And I think people keep forgetting that they're like, no matter how like that would be like, because how big they are, that would be more of an argument to break it up. Like just because they're super big and popular and highly like
Speaking of Twitter,
highly useful. Wait, what happened?
What are you saying is super big and powerful and should be broken up?
Like
Twitter,
like social media,
or the powers of social media.
Yeah, like social media, like these Facebook, and that are seem to like monopolizing the social media sphere. Like these few companies that own all the social media avenues. Like
Right.
that would be more of an argument to break them up, so there's more an opportunity for more competition and less coordinated restrictions. Like these are still private companies, and I don't remember anything in the Constitution saying that the president had a constitutional right to access to a popular social media.
He's a citizen like anybody else. If
outlet.
I say some shit about violence or incurring violence or inciting violence, I would get banned too. Like
Yes,
Right.
if anything,
I should.
his promotion of racism, violence, misinformation was more what's the word was allowed because he was the president. So like whatever he says could be a matter of could be a reflection of public interest or public policy. But like Twitter's, Facebook, they don't have an obligation to have their platforms used to be the venues for those expressions. It just happened that like, how can you like, if you're like the president's going to announce policy, I mean, why not use it? Why not use it on our platform? But like that's a choice of the company, not an
Here's my thing. Would we have even been having this discussion of like, what are political leaders going to do without Twitter? Like 4 years ago, when the president wasn't making all his major announcements through Twitter, like, would this be like a concern of politicians? Like, oh no, what if they take away my Twitter? Like, how do you communicate? Like, is that the only way you communicate
I
your
was gonna
followers.
argue like, wait, like what were we arguing about like before Twitter and social media existed? Like
Yeah.
what were we debating during like the first years of the Bush administration? Like were we like discussing that like
there's always there's always like perceptions of news articles and how the news spins certain stories, whether they they have a liberal take on it, conservative take. But I mean, like the companies banning him essentially are proof that they chose to stick by their guns and stick by like what they actually say. They in that video they're talking about them applying the rules like inequally, but like or unequally. But they're not. They're using specific examples of language over and over again in Trump's speeches or in Trump's tweets that play to violent people or incite violence, like so.
yeah,
Or
like
and then any derivation of, is that the word derivation? I don't know. Any like any
Derision.
no, like anything that like an offshoot of that, like like the congresswoman,
Derivative.
yeah, any derivative of, yeah, I'd have to look that up. Any like Majority Taylor Greene or whatever, she just got her Twitter not banned, but like essentially
suspended.
suspended, yeah, because she's playing into these QAnon conspiracies. I mean, it's the old argument: you can't yell fire in a crowded theater if there's no fire. Like yes, Twitter is very popular. It's great that a president would want to use it to communicate to people, but if he starts being a dick and communicating falsehoods and inciting violence, yeah, you should ban him. It doesn't matter, he's the president.
Well, being a dick is one thing, but like actually being like
You're
Spreader of misinformation.
touting
being
falsehoods that turn into violence. Like, I mean,
that's different. Yeah, so like like him being, if he called like, I don't know, Roseanne fat on Twitter, I wouldn't say, oh,
which
he
I'm
got
sure he has. There's always
yeah, he did. Not Roseanne, Rosie O'Donnell.
yeah,
My bad.
Roseanne, she supports him.
Yeah, but like so like you could be mean, but like him inciting violence, misinformation, the endorsement of racism, and advocating of violent riots that lead to the death of individuals. Like those seem like all fair reasons. So like this idea about like the uneven suspension and banning of accounts sounds like you're saying like, why am I getting charged with murder? There are some white people in another city that are murdering people and you haven't arrested them yet. It's like, okay, but that you still need to be held accountable for your crimes. Like this like this whataboutism shouldn't absolve that person of their crimes and being held responsible. And like I said, at the end of the day, like free speech doesn't apply to private platforms platforming you. Like you don't have a constitutional right to a Twitter account.
And
And
to
people,
give credit to that guy, I don't remember their names, but one of the guys in the video did make that statement. Like basically, like we're on this platform, like it is their platform. We have to follow their rules.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, it's like if you fuck it up, then that's on you. They have a right to get rid of you.
right?
Yeah. And like if you were wrongly like terminated from their platform, then like you can argue against it, but like you still have no like inherent right to it. And like and like and that on top of that, isn't this such a like a first world luxury that we're like really arguing about? Like we're
Yeah,
arguing
like
that like
what? That's what I'm saying. Like, what political leaders like? No, not my Twitter. Like, who are these people that are just like cowering in fear that their Twitter's going to be taken away?
That's a fair point. I mean, he has like 88 million followers, which it's messages getting out to a lot of people. But I mean, number one, like free speech doesn't necessarily mean you could say whatever you want. Like it's free because the fact that we have protections on it
from the government.
And ideally in a moral world you have protections on it. But I mean, they were also using the argument that like it was all coordinated. All of the social media platforms started doing it at the same time. If anything,
Yeah,
that they're working as they should. Like, if one of them banned him and then none of them banned him, it would be like, okay, well, like, are you
and
guys
like
crooked?
and
Like, what are you
yeah,
doing? Like,
and also it just demonstrated, like I said last time, that it was like Twitter doing it gave them the permission. So like you don't like they're a business. Their objective is maximizing profit and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't know. Like, I'm sure they had grounds to do it multiple times over the last 4 years.
Right.
But Twitter did it, and they were like, "Oh."
and
So
that's the proof of this free
Twitter,
speech. They
yeah,
could
Twitter
they
took the
could have.
big step. Twitter took the big step. So now, like, we all have the
They're
freedom.
gonna
Like
follow suit.
yeah, we all just
They
agree
made
that
it
we don't.
seem like there was a big group chat with like all the big, social media companies, and they were like,
That might be well.
go.
For one, they're. I'm sure. Well, for one,
I'm sure.
those
I'm sure. Like Facebook and Twitter are like, like they
Yeah,
talk.
you don't think Mark Zuckerberg doesn't talk to the head of Twitter? Like, I mean, come on.
yeah, and
I'm sure those guys, but like
yeah.
Pinterest and like they're not all like,
I'm sure they got.
hey,
I'm sure they
what
all
should
in
we
group
do?
chats. I'm sure they got group chats. They got each other's numbers.
But
But
like, just
like,
exchanging
and
memes.
the common
Eyes wide
expression,
shut type shit.
the common expression is like freedom of speech, not freedom from consequences. So
Mm-hmm.
like it goes back to like,
Who really is the top banana?
but I guess so. This will be the last podcast of the Trump era. Hopefully, thankfully, right? Knock on wood. Nothing
Oh yeah, inauguration.
happens tomorrow. So
you take out some cash.
maybe I should, right? I still have all my ones from my birthday.
Wow.
Of course you
I don't
do.
know. Okay, we'll get into that next time.
What am I gonna do with them though? I'm just saying.
Just hand them out to like strangers on the train.
You want me to put them back?
You could. You have some explaining to do. You go to the bank and just like fat stacks of singles.
One, I got
like
that judgment. I got that judgment when I withdrew it the first time. They were like, "Oh, so somebody's planning on having some fun."
Listen, for your birthday, I went to a bank, okay, that I did not belong to, and they wanted to know why I needed $100 in singles. And I was like, listen, all right, I'll do what I need to. Okay, just give it to me.
Like, that's none of your business. Just give me my money. Like,
yeah.
You don't need the small talk. Yeah. So hope you guys stay safe tomorrow, right?
Yeah, get a 24 pack of water, a couple $100 in cash, a bottle of alcohol.
Just to tide you over.
If anything, I need to go out.
A Tide Pod.
If anything, I need to go out right now and load up on supplies.
Nah, right. I think it's gonna be tame. It's gonna be tame.
We'll see.
Hopefully, we will see next episode. On the next episode, we'll let you know how it went.
Yeah, we'll talk. If you only see one or two of us on the podcast, then you know that
we know. You lost one of the homies.
Things didn't go well.
Mike didn't make it. I like how it's me. It's assumed. No.
But I mean, thankfully, none of us are near any of the capitals.
I'm near Trump Tower, so I feel a little shaky about that, but we'll see how it goes.
Why would they show up there, though?
I don't know. Strange folks. They do weird things. But we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Good night.